Q6973-1. Public figures are protected by A. Special use airspace. B. Prohibited areas. C. Temporary flight restrictions. The correct answer is C. Temporary flight restrictions, TFRs, are regulatory measures implemented by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, to establish a restricted airspace area for a specified period of time. TFRs are used to protect public figures, such as heads of state, high-ranking government officials, or individuals under specific security concerns. When a public figure requires protection, TFRs are put in place to limit access to the airspace surrounding their location or during their travel. These restrictions are enforced to ensure the safety and security of the public figure and the airspace in which they operate. TFRs can encompass various dimensions and altitudes, depending on the specific security needs of the protected individual. The restrictions may prohibit all aircraft from entering the designated airspace or establish specific entry requirements, such as obtaining prior authorization or operating under certain conditions. By establishing TFRs, the FAA helps provide a secure environment for public figures, limiting potential threats or disruptions from unauthorized aircraft operations. It allows for the coordination of security measures, including the deployment of law enforcement or military resources when necessary. Pilots must be aware of and respect TFRs to avoid violating airspace restrictions and potential legal consequences. Checking for the presence of TFRs along their planned flight route is an important part of flight planning and complying with airspace regulations. Overall, temporary flight restrictions are a vital tool in protecting public figures and ensuring their safety by establishing restricted airspace around them during specific events or travel. 6455. When operating an airplane within Class D airspace under Special VFR, the flight visibility is required to be at least A. 3 sm, B. 2 sm, C. 1 sm. The correct answer is C. Class D airspace is typically found around smaller airports with control towers. When operating within Class D airspace under special visual flight rules, the minimum flight visibility required is 1 sm. This means that the pilot must be able to see and maintain visual contact with the surrounding environment, including other aircraft, objects on the ground, and landmarks, for a minimum distance of 1 statute mile. The visibility requirement ensures that pilots have sufficient visual reference to navigate safely within Class D airspace and maintain separation from other aircraft operating in the vicinity. It's important to note that other factors, such as cloud clearance requirements and communication procedures, also apply when operating within Class D airspace. Pilots should familiarize themselves with the specific regulations and requirements for the Class D airspace they are operating in to ensure compliance and safe flight operations. 6456. No person may operate an airplane within Class D and E airspace between sunset and sunrise under Special VFR unless the A. Flight visibility is at least 3 miles. B. Airplane is equipped for instrument flight. C. Flight can be conducted 500 feet below the clouds. The correct answer is B. When operating an airplane within Class D and E airspace during the period between sunset and sunrise under Special VFR, the pilot must have the necessary equipment to conduct instrument flight. This means that the aircraft must be equipped with the required instruments and avionics to operate safely in reduced visibility conditions. Special VFR operations are conducted in controlled airspace when the weather conditions are below the basic visual flight rules, VFR, minimums, but the visibility and cloud clearance are still suitable for the pilot to maintain visual reference with the ground and other objects. However, during the period between sunset and sunrise, additional requirements are imposed to ensure adequate safety. In this case, Option B states that the airplane must be equipped for instrument flight. This means that the aircraft must have the necessary instruments, such as an attitude indicator, heading indicator, altimeter, and communication/navigation equipment, to safely operate in reduced visibility conditions and rely on instrument indications for navigation and control. By requiring the airplane to be equipped for instrument flight during nighttime special VFR operations, the regulations aim to enhance safety and ensure that pilots have the necessary tools to maintain control and situational awareness in conditions where visual references may be limited. It is important for pilots to understand and comply with the specific equipment requirements and regulations for special VFR operations in Class D and E airspace, especially during the period between sunset and sunrise, to ensure safe flight operations. 6457. Regulations stipulate that, at an airport located within Class E airspace and at which ground visibility is not reported, takeoffs and landings of airplanes under Special VFR are A. Not authorized. B. Authorized if the flight visibility is at least 1 sm. C. Authorized only if another airport in that designated airspace reports a ground visibility of 1 sm. The correct answer is B. Visibility plays a crucial role in aviation safety, as it determines the pilot's ability to see and avoid other aircraft, terrain, and obstacles. While ground visibility refers to the visibility of objects on the ground from an observer's point of view, flight visibility pertains to the distance at which a pilot can see and maintain visual contact with the surrounding airspace during flight. In the context of the given scenario, if ground visibility is not reported at the airport within Class E airspace, it means there is no specific visibility measurement available for that location. However, this does not necessarily restrict special VFR operations. Under special VFR, pilots are permitted to operate in weather conditions that are below the basic visual flight rules, VFR, minimums, as long as they meet certain requirements. One of these requirements is to have the necessary flight visibility. The minimum flight visibility required for special VFR operations is 1 sm. This means that the pilot must have visibility of at least 1 statute mile in the airspace surrounding the airport. It is the pilot's responsibility to assess the visibility conditions and ensure that the flight visibility is sufficient for safe takeoffs and landings. In summary, even if ground visibility is not reported at the airport within Class E airspace, pilots can still perform takeoffs and landings under special VFR if they have a minimum flight visibility of 1 sm. This emphasizes the importance of maintaining adequate visibility to ensure safe flight operations in potentially reduced visibility conditions. 6454. While in Class G airspace under day VFR conditions, what in-flight visibility is required when flying more than 1,200 AGL and less than 10,000 feet MSL? A. 5 sm. B. 3 sm. C. 1 sm. The correct answer is C. Class G airspace, also known as uncontrolled airspace, typically encompasses airspace where air traffic control services are not provided. In this type of airspace, pilots are responsible for their own separation and maintaining visual contact with other aircraft and potential obstacles. When operating in Class G airspace under day VFR conditions, the minimum in-flight visibility required is 1 sm. This means that the pilot must have at least 1 statute mile of visibility to navigate safely and maintain visual contact with the surrounding environment, including other aircraft, terrain, and objects on the ground. It's important to note that visibility requirements may vary depending on the specific altitude and airspace classification. In this case, when flying more than 1,200 feet AGL and less than 10,000 feet MSL in Class G airspace under day VFR conditions, the minimum required in-flight visibility is 1 sm. Pilots should always be aware of and adhere to the visibility requirements and other regulations applicable to the specific airspace they are operating in to ensure safe flight operations.